Today is May 7th, 2016, and just yesterday in my shop, I designed and produced a new tool. Now, is that anything new under the sun? I can't believe how many tools I've been making lately. Maybe I should call this toolsource.com. But every one of these tools is developed out of frustration. I'm sure it doesn't matter what kind of car, there's going to be something that there's not quite the right tool. Now, this tool I'm holding in my hand, I know you won't be able to see it real well, but we'll look at it up close here in a minute. And I want you to try to guess what that's for. Notice the bend in it. But for years, I've been thinking about doing a tool like this. I should have done this 15 years ago. When you think about all the diesels I've worked on, hundreds of diesels. Why didn't I do this tool 20 years ago when I got my first 240D? I'm sure every single Mercedes diesel owner, we're talking about the older 4 and 5 cylinder cast iron engines. This is the OM615, the OM616, the OM617 built, in the 60s right up to 1985. I'm sure everyone, I wish I had a tool like that 10 years ago or 5 years ago or however long it's been since you've purchased your old Mercedes diesel. But finally, yesterday I said I've had it, and that has to do with removing the injector hard lines, particularly the lower hard lines on the injection pump. I pulled that wagon in, I had to pull the lines off to set the injection pump timing, and I'm using a 17 millimeter wrench, trying to put it in an angle, and it's too tight and you can't get a good hold on the nuts. You round the nuts, the wrench won't move very much. Now granted, I do have the factory tool, but that factory tool, even though it can go in and get on these nuts, is never really handy. And you got to get a special ratchet and extension and get it all set up, and sometimes it kind of sticks in there. It's really good when you're working in tight places like on the old 6-cylinder gas engines or the 6.3. You have to have that wrench. But for these diesels, you don't have to have a wrench if you do something like this. Now, I'm sure there are a lot of you out there who have access to grinders and torches, and you could probably make your own, and I welcome you to that. But I just got to show you, I am really excited about this. Over the years, there's certain tools that I've come up with that all of a sudden I said, that's going to be it. That's going to be a good one. And, it started way back with those valve adjusting wrenches, and now we have another one for these older Mercedes diesel engines. Now, let me show you how this works up close on the engine. The problem with a normal 17 millimeter open-end wrench is that it's too thick right in here. Sure, they build that so the jaw won't spread, but when you try to put it on one of these nuts like this, you get it down on here, you hardly have any kind of room to turn, and what you have to do is hold the wrench at this ridiculous angle like that to try to loosen it up, and even then you don't have a lot of room to turn it. Of course, getting up here, it's a lot better because, of course, you're not fighting it. But you can see here, I thought, well, if we put an angle on that head, we're going to be able to get in here and get on these nuts a lot better than with a straight wrench like this. So let me show you now how the head of this one compares to the new wrench I just made. So comparing my wrench to a standard wrench will give you a pretty good idea of the modifications I had to make. Of course, I put the angle in it. But this is the big modification here, is on the width of the head and also grinding it in here thinner at this point so you can get more travel on those bottom hardline nuts where they attach to the injection pump. So you can see very clearly that this wrench head has had a major modification. I need to warn you that, of course, when we do this, we weaken the jaws, so do not use this wrench for extreme torque or you could spread this out. That's not the intention for this wrench. Save it just for your injector hard lines. Watch closely now as I get this new wrench on the same nut that I got that bigger wrench on earlier. Now watch this. Look at how much travel I have. I can move the wrench from there all the way and even further. Now try that with any kind of standard wrench. Look at this one. See, same thing. Look at the amount of movement I can get. And even if it's really hard to get to, you can turn it upside down and come in at an angle like that, but generally I don't recommend that. But look at this. I can be way over here like that, and look at Look at the travel I have. And when I tighten them down, I can get them good and tight without having to worry about the wrench hitting the adjacent nut. Look at that one. There's a really tight one there. Now let's go up top to these upper nuts. You could even come in like this if you had to. See that? Although you probably don't need to in that situation. You can come at it from this angle here. But notice with that curved head, see, I'm able to get on this thing and get underneath those hard lines. And down in here, I can come in at an angle. Okay, that's a little tight there, so I'll just roll it in over the top of this and injector return hose. Look at the angle right there. I'm straight on that nut. No more worries about rounding those corners off. I can loosen it up. I have lots of travel, and then I can tighten it right back up. Once again, I can even turn it upside down to get another bite on it, like that. So now, I think you can see why I'm so excited about my newest custom wrench.